through what is the latest as far as the investigation is concerned. The blast took place on the same day that the Faridabad police busted a major module. From that module, they recovered something like 2,900 kilograms of explosive materials. Some part of it, perhaps he was spooked, Dr. Umar Nabi, perhaps he was spooked by this module being busted. Some part of it, he managed to escape with this I-20 car. He, in a sense of panic or haste, ran away from Faridabad, spent the next 12 hours driving through the national capital, and then at 6:52 in the evening, using that I-20 car, he used it to create this blast right outside the Red Fort. But by then, the I-20 had traversed across half a dozen districts of Delhi and 12 separate locations. Let's run you through where those places are. Of course, the Netaji Subhas Place, which is in northwest Delhi. That's the commercial and business hub, was one of the earliest points on the route once he entered Delhi through the Badarpur border from Faridabad into Delhi proper. CCTV cameras have captured the suspect driving through the vehicle in the early morning hours in that area in northwest Delhi. Then there is Ashok Vihar, again in northwest Delhi. The police believe that the accused made a brief halt there. The locality has multiple exit routes towards central Delhi, and that makes it a convenient transit point. Then he was caught in the heart of Delhi, in Connaught Place in CP, right in central Delhi, where the vehicle was later seen passing along the outer circle of Connaught Place, is one of the most iconic and busiest parts of Delhi. Sources suggesting that the passage may have been intended for surveillance or for blending with routine traffic. Then there is Ranjit Flyover, again in central Delhi. The link, again from the CCTV images, seem to show that the flyover aligns with the same time frame as the Connaught Place footage, meaning that the car was moving further south. Then there is Delight Cinema, which is again in central Delhi, closer to Old Delhi area, a crucial waypoint that's located very close to the Red Fort area. Investigators consider this the final possible approach before the explosion happened. Then there is the Shaheed Bhagat Singh Marg in the New Delhi district, which connects Connaught Place with ITO and the Daryaganj corridor. The vehicle's presence there establishes a clear movement pattern towards the blast site. And also he was seen in the Rohtak Road, which is the road that goes out of Delhi into Haryana in North Delhi, believed to be part of an earlier escape route. A mapping effort. Rohtak Road's intercity links are now under review as well. And of course, right up first in the morning at 7 a.m., 7:15 a.m., he was seen at the Badarpur Toll Plaza in southeast Delhi. One of the most striking footages show the suspect's car crossing the toll plaza with the driver wearing a mask. The investigators say this video is the key piece of evidence that has helped piece together the entire sort of sequence of events leading up to the blast 12 hours later. My colleague Ananya Bhatnagar traced that entire route that was taken on the 10th of November from 7 a.m. till almost 7 p.m. from the Falah Medical College and University in Faridabad all the way to Red Fort, where the blast was executed. Here's what he found 2 days after that entire deadly car route turned out into the bomb blast at the end. Has anything changed in Delhi 2 days on? This is what he found out.
HR 26 CE 7674. The car that was used in that sinister plot that claimed over 8 lives and in fact left more than 20 injured. Now we'll be tracking down the route, and the car first was seen here at the Falah University. It was seen near the Falah University campus, which not only was the spot where the car was spotted first, but also remains to be the biggest piece of this whole puzzle of the sinister plot that was hatched in order to create those 10-11 bomb blasts that occurred in the national capital at around 6:25 on the 10th of November evening this year, and claimed over 8 lives. After taking the route from the Falah University, the first thing that we saw almost after a kilometer or two is in fact this police station. In fact, it says that it's the police commissionerate of in fact the Dhauj district of Faridabad, and you can see right behind me are the police trucks, and we just crossed in fact a small barricading as well, which was there to actually check these cars out whether this barricading actually remains. When we ask the police official, they say that it's a continuous barricading that always there under a routine, but whether or not that was there that day when this sinister car had. This is in fact the Asian hospital where the car was actually spotted at 7 a.m. in the morning, and from here in fact it went towards in fact the Badapur border in the national capital, where it finally achieved to enter the national capital territory of Delhi. The very spot, the Badapur Faridabad toll, from where the sinister vehicle, the vehicle HR26 7674, actually entered in fact the premises of the national capital, and in fact from here on he had his ride started towards the Red Fort, and after in fact you can see these CCTV cameras that were the ones that had actually captured that particular vehicle there coming into the picture. Car actually also in fact was caught in the CCTV footage near in fact a petrol pump, and that is also one of the key focal points where the car was actually seen. Post that the car continued towards in fact Sarai Kale Khan, and at around 8:20 it was seen in fact in the morning it was seen at a petrol pump. Car was spotted next here near the DND flyway, which we are on at this particular point of time. The car was spotted here, and then the next stop or the next spotting of the car happened at 2 p.m. on in fact the CP or the Connaught Place, following which it was later spotted the parking around 3 of in fact the Red Fort. The car reached around 3:19 at this parking right here next to the Red Fort at around 3:19 p.m. or in the 3:19 in the afternoon. This is in fact the parking where this car was parked for almost 3 hours, and post that at around 3:20 to 22 this car actually left from this particular spot and reached to its final destination, which is near the Digambar temple, the particular red light where that blast actually took place, claiming over 9 lives, where that particular sinister plot was completely executed. 9 people lost their lives at least, and many of them were left injured.
My colleague Ananya Bhatnagar there tracing that entire 12-hour journey that this car had. The car is HR26CE7674, the car that blasted off just before 7 p.m. on Monday evening. There you can see the CCTV footage, the exact moment of the blast. You can see huge plume of smoke and fire, and of course nearby cars getting burnt and damaged in the process, people getting killed. What he found, Ananya, 2 days after, is that an entire route of 12 hours, including 3 hours in the parking lot at outside the Red Fort metro station, there's no visible amp up of security. So how seriously are we taking something that happened in Delhi just 2 days ago? And that too, this is the first time in over 10 years. In fact, the last big attack in Delhi was in 2011 at the Delhi High Court. I want to go across to our panelists, to our guests who are joining us. Gopal Agarwal is national spokesperson of the BJP. Dr. Ajay Kumar, national spokesperson of the Congress Party. Yashwardhan Azad, former IPS officer and special director with the IB, is also joining us. Mr. Agarwal, let me start with you first. I mean, it's bad enough that this car, after the Faridabad module got busted early in the morning on Monday, at 7:15 a.m., it crosses from Faridabad through Badarpur into Delhi. For 12 hours, this man is driving through the heart of Delhi, from Connaught Place to ITO to Mayur Vihar, through the DND flyway. The heart of Delhi, 12 different locations it's spotted on CCTV camera. And then 3 hours in the parking lot of Red Fort metro station. And there was no visible amp up of security either on that day or even today, 2 days later, as our reporter found.
The government is taking all cognizance of what is there, and this is also, we are seeing that this was because of the panic that they thought that they will be tracked. So this is a sorry state, but the government had been active. The module was being tracked, and the in Gujarat also the module was tracked. In Faridabad, you yourself report says that they were being tracked, and the RDX was that explosive chemicals were found out and they were connected. But it's a difficult situation, difficult issues, and when there are people involved, domestic, when they have their sleeper cells, etc., it becomes difficult. But the government is tracking very seriously, the investigation agencies. This is because of the pressure of the government agencies, because of the pressure that they were being tracked very closely. They had in a panic came to this situation. So the government is now further taking all NIA investigation, IB, everybody is looking into the whole module, and I
So,
think it's for all of us to look into this serious matters and work.
Dr. Ajay Kumar, so the contention of the government has been that, look, the bust up that happened in Faridabad, where these guys were caught with 2,900 kilograms of explosives, they were planning something far worse, far more sinister, far more deadly. And it's because of the agencies getting there in time and busting up that module that Delhi was saved from perhaps serial blasts or something certainly of a much bigger magnitude than what we saw on Monday evening.
So, Zaka, I'll just take a little time, but there are three issues which are two primary issues. One is political, which I'll come to, and one is which is on the terrorism aspect. On the political issue, you have the Home Minister's a full-time job, and National Security is a top priority, Agarwal sir. But our Home Minister is only campaigning 4 months in Bihar. You tell me which country will have this kind of seriousness to terror if we keep tom-tomming that Mr. Amit Shah is serious. His seriousness is only in winning elections or fighting elections. It's not on national security because he was never in Delhi. The second issue is I feel our Prime Minister should not have gone to Bhutan for the simple reason the message which goes down is. And they might criticize us and, point fingers at us. But when Mr. Manmohan Singh, when the 26/11 happened, he went to each and everybody who were injured in the hospital. And that's what we expect from the Prime Minister. He cancelled, there was an election in Delhi, he cancelled those meetings. And that's what we had expected from our Prime Minister. But the Prime Minister happily tweeted and then went to Bhutan.
Today he came back and he met the injured in the hospital.
Yes, Zaka, boss.
Government was in action
Yeah,
immediately.
one sec. Can I complete, sir? Agarwal, sir, let me complete. I don't interrupt. Saka, please stop interrupting me. I mean, give me a chance. Okay. I'm just putting it in a perspective. Whether he came back or not is not the issue. He shouldn't have gone. The third most important point is the National Security Advisor has been maybe a very successful person, and he has been definitely. But he's 80-year-old now. Mr. Shah doesn't even call for the meeting. I mean, and rightfully so that he has served the nation. But even James Bond is from 1968 to 2025. There have been 7 new James Bonds. So we need to be very clear, extension after extension to the senior officials who are manning the the critical post in this government. It's only an extension government. It's a geriatric. Zaka, please understand this, very important, and please mull over it. And you can do the whole government is geriatric in terms of the civil servants who are taking over, intelligence extension, CBI extension. Everybody's on extension, but now I like which the government is trying to put a narrative that, oh, they panicked and all. They didn't panic. That Pulwama SP, a gentleman called Mr. Chakravarti, was an antenna went up thinking that why are these Jaish-e-Mohammed's posters all over, and that investigation went to unraveling. So you had an SP who didn't have an intelligence input, who went and inquired into it, and that investigation of Jammu and Kashmir police went to unraveling. You need to understand this. So where is this competence of this government? So disabuse yourself.
So let Mr. Agarwal respond. You're saying it's sheer providence, it's sheer good fortune that there was I think an SHO in Naugam and this SP in Pulwama who managed to detect this, and therefore it's sheer coincidence or sheer luck that we managed to avert a much bigger thing.
No,
let Mr. Agarwal respond, then I'll go to Mr. Azad after that.
The level
Zaka, just ask Agarwal, just a question.
No, you've laid out a whole bunch of political attacks. Let him respond to it. Yeah.
The thing is, we have to understand that the level of terrorist attack over the last 11 years have come down drastically. The response of the government to the terrorist attacks and the measures to counter that from the cross-border infiltrations, etc., have been remarkable. We have been fighting strongly about the Naxal issues. The government has been going to the root cause of where the terrorists are getting their support. Their financial network is being disseminated, and they even the issues about the Kashmir, which was the place from where terrorist attacks were, people were getting educated, their sleeper cells have been detected. The government is doing things, and you see the remarkable difference where terrorist attacks were handled under the UPA government and under the NDA government, our government. It's a remarkable difference. The countermeasures are strong enough. The whole
So,
how this
so
whole thing,
I want to now shift focus
you
to
cannot just say.
another concerning aspect of what happened on Monday, and I'll ask Mr. Azad about this. The concerning aspect is this: that previously, at least certainly when it comes to terrorism associated with Kashmir, there was always this narrative that these are poor people, impoverished people, people who have been diverted into this because this is a means of economic activity for them, so on and so forth. But the idea that highly educated medical professionals, in the case of Dr. Umar Nabi, he happened to be one of the toppers of the medical exam in Jammu and Kashmir state. Same is the case with this Dr. Shaheen, who is a resident of Lucknow, who grew up in Kanpur, again a topper in one of the medical exams. Many of these people come from extremely well-to-do families, and they are doctors. They've taken the Hippocrates oath. They are supposed to be saviors of life, not destroyers of life. What is it that made them? Is it an ideology? Is it brainwashing? What is it that made them take up something like terrorism? So there is a common connection here. There is a person named Maulvi Irfan. He was the local Maulvi in a mosque there in just outside Srinagar, I believe somewhere. Yeah, in Pulwama. Now, he is supposedly the man who brainwashed and indoctrinated all of these doctors. One of them who died on Monday, who was a suicide bomber on Monday, and then the others who were arrested when this Faridabad terror module was busted by the police. Now, this Maulvi, he was arrested from Shopian, and it led to a deeper web of this radicalization and online propaganda, which is much more discreet than anything that the police have seen in the past. So these key actors, so Dr. Umar Nabi, who is the suspected suicide bomber, who was behind the wheels of that I-20, again, qualified doctor, one of the toppers in the state of Jammu and Kashmir in the medical exam. Dr. Muzammil Ahmed, who was arrested again in connection to the Faridabad module. Cops had seized more than 2,900 kilograms of explosives from one of the warehouses which he had leased out. Then there is Dr. Shaheen Shahid, the lady doctor from Lucknow, who was arrested in Lucknow, believed to be one of the financiers of this module. They also recovered some weapons from one of her cars. There's a second car which was said to be that of Dr. Umar Nabi. That too has been apprehended. We don't know what was there in the second car, but in the first car, allegedly, she had ferried weapons for Dr. Muzammil. And then there is Dr. Adil, who was involved in putting up Jaish posters. This is what Dr. Ajay Kumar said a moment ago. It was these posters and a couple of alert cops that first led to the tip-off around this Faridabad module. This person, Adil, was arrested from Saharanpur with a huge catch of arms and ammunition. So, Mr. Azad, explain this to us. People are calling this white-collar jihad, doctors of death. How do such highly qualified people, those who have taken the oath to protect and save lives, how can they do this?
Okay, Zaka, before I get into the de-radicalization part of it, permit me to answer your two questions which have remained, unanswered. First is the route map, and that's an excellent thing which you have raised, that this vehicle traveled 60 kilometers, 7 o'clock in the morning, and then entered Delhi, was meandering around for so many hours, and then finally created exactly the blast where a terrorist would, that is in a very sensitive location at 6:58 in a crowd, which is exactly what every terrorist would want. I think this is a very important question because once the recovery has taken place for 2,900 kgs, the man has been named. He ran away in panic, so he was already in panic. But the police in the nakas, etc., should have been alerted. So there was a possibility that this guy could have been apprehended. That's number one. Number two, if also in Delhi, if you have a gadi, which is a vehicle, which is, hanging around and meandering around for these so many hours, then maybe a smart control room, AI enabled, could have been able to track something. So these are some things to look into the future, the right legitimate questions which have been asked. But whether it was a panic attack or whether it was a terrorist attack, because it's killed 11 people and 26 are already injured, and exactly to the T it has gone. Your question about radicalization, yes, this is the most sinister and one of the most dangerous modules that we have seen. As far radicalization goes, remember, Zaka, and you've been covering that also, in the ISIS campaign, they were luring even the educated people on the internet. And there were people who were going from Kerala who went there, died in the battlefields of the ISIS, and some of them ran away and came back. And during their interrogation, we found out how they were lured, how they were indoctrinated through there was a persistent kind of a luring which was going on, incentives being given, and that is how they were indoctrinated. This is extremely dangerous because it has reached the level of the doctors who have not only been the traitors to their nation, but traitors to their own occupation too. And that Maulvi over there who indoctrinated them and was going on, because indoctrination is not because a few cassettes of Zakir Naik here and there. It needs a persistent kind of, drumming in, and so that the indoctrination takes place. But this indoctrination is not only there, it has also reached UP. And I think they are also tracing out some of the Maulvis over there.
But tell me, Mr. Azad, these are people who are living with their family members, they're living with their friends. I believe all these four of them worked in a private university in Faridabad, just in the outskirts of the national capital. And this has obviously been built up over a period of time. 2,900 kilograms of explosive is a lot of explosive. Absolutely. How come nobody, none of these people, their antennas went up? Friends, family, acquaintances, people in the university, nobody knew about this?
In fact, this is the next thing which I was coming to, that if you remember, Zaka, even the 9/11 attack, there were these software engineers, there were these, aeronautical engineers being trained in Germany, and there were these pilots who attacked the World Trade Center. In this particular case, of course, some of the neighbors were aware of what exactly was happening in Falah, whatever that institute is. Of course, yeah. But they chose to, stand away. And there was a kind of an ecosystem. Mind you, Zaka, we still have to look into the entire university, what they were doing in their labs, how they were operating through that home. And incidentally, by the way, when the investigations are going on, there's a whole web, the couriers, the runners, from the chemicals signature, the sellers, the dealers. So these are all the issues which have been looked into, and maybe after investigation, you'll be able to find a kind of an ecosystem which was favoring them.
No, this is a matter of grave concern. Yes. If well-educated people, well-to-do people who are doing well in life are influenced by this kind of brainwashing, this kind of brainwashed, twisted ideology to not just take their own lives but kill other people in the process.
Yes.
And frankly, I don't know what is the antidote to it. Gopal Agarwal, at some level, of course, the buck will stop with the government. The government was not able to stop it, and the police were not able to stop it. And despite this 12-hour window, this guy was driving around Delhi for 60 kilometers and all of that. No, those are the most proximate ones. But if this is a larger pattern where educated engineers and doctors and God knows who else is getting indoctrinated in this fashion, then that is something that should be deeply worrisome.
Surely, Raka, you have raised a very important question about radicalization. We have to look into that, how terrorist ecosystem is working in this. There are multiple stakeholders in this. Those are working in this. We have to look into the political side of it. When you talked about the way There was a victimhood card who wanted some people, or even political class or urban Naxals, those were called, they were giving a cover to the whole terrorist activities and their activities on the ground. We have to look, there is a financing mechanism, there is issues about the cross-border support to the terrorism, there is a political narratives which supports this kind of, gives a political cover to their activities, and it even interferes into the working of the investigation agencies, etc. We have to
Okay.
look into all the aspects. When a government stops the foreign funding to different organizations and NGOs and other think tanks in the name of think tanks, NGOs, etc., camouflaging the flow of money to these organizations, there is a big political outcry at that
So,
point of time.
so
So
this
these things
Al
also
Falah
are important.
University, I believe, started off as an engineering college. Sometime in the last 10 years, they managed to get a medical college
And
license. They're now a
they
university.
must have been being
Three,
financed by certain sources,
three,
and those sources were getting a social cover
three,
in the
three out of
government,
three
in
out
the
of the four three
country.
out of the four faculty members, three out of the four doctors who were arrested, and including the one who died, three out of the four of them were employed in this university. The explosive material traces back to the labs of this university. Now, suddenly, after this university has come into light, into focus, the campus, the funding, the governance, how do they get their medical university license, all of this is coming into focus because post facto, after this whole thing happened. I mean, the point, Dr. Ajay Kumar, and you've been a cop, you know, that was your primary vocation, that was your primary occupation. How does one deal with this when doctors start, you know, becoming radicalized and are willing to blow people up in the name of a twisted ideology? What is the antidote to it? What is the solution to this?
No, one thing. Look, we need to tone down the rhetoric. No, see, as a government, and I keep saying it. How do you create an environment of antagonism between communities? And we need to, I mean, Islamic terrorism is a reality, like what Yashwadhanji said, and even Agarwal Saab said, and I agree with it that it's a challenge. But the question is, if your rhetoric is all the time, the Prime Minister says Guspati in Bihar, and Guspatis got into in all these people infiltrated Delhi, no? My question again is, when you raise the temperature hatred between communities, even something so innocuous like that cricketer girl Jemima, I mean, if you keep making othering the other community, because 99.9% are not involved, 0.01% are involved. Where will the intelligence come from? And Yashwadhan ji has been in the spent a remarkably successful career in the police. Where will the intelligence come from? It will come from that community, right? How would you know that somebody has hired a storeroom? How would you know it? And issue is, unless you tone down this rhetoric, as a government, that's your responsibility because it doesn't take you, and you need to get information from it. The second issue is, obviously there is a network which they're working on, the educated people are working on. It's scary because they're smarter, they can move around, they can travel, they can be incognito also. Those are challenges for sure. That's the next level of but I fundamentally believe that the intelligence setup, a small suggestion to all of us is, there was something which Mr. Chidambaram proposed, was the national counter-terrorism centers across India and every state capital. At that time in the parliament, I was there when the BJP opposed it. They can take credit for it, but you need to create NCTC across India, because if you have a specialized organization within the intelligence bureau or anything else, and you have the national counter-terrorism centers across, you have a focused approach on homebound terrorism.
Okay.
The most important thing, and we'll continue to, and we are guilty, they are guilty, the unaccountability of the intelligence
Exactly.
services. The parliament, no, you keep saying you're 56-inch, sir. So I request you, make the intelligence services through a in-camera discussion with the parliamentary committee, in-camera discussion, the accountability of the intelligence services everywhere in the world, in all democracies across, which we respect, England, Germany, United States, France, every intelligence services need to be accountable when you put the pressure, and ask questions, not to hang them, but to make them accountable. And
No,
that
I
is
think you have a
missing.
point. I
And we
mean,
are
Director
getting.
of National Intelligence, FBI chief, all of them repeatedly every few months have to go before Senate committees and House
Correct.
committees and have to explain conduct of their agencies. Yashwardhan Azad, I'll give you the final word. I have to wrap up after this. The Cabinet Committee on Security is also met, so we have a bite from one of the ministers who's briefed the media after that. But this idea that accountability needs to be fixed, and it needs to be fixed, political accountability, agency accountability. I mean, at the end of the day, cops have to be held accountable for this lapse. On the one hand, the government is saying, oh, we prevented a much bigger thing. 2,900 kilograms would have led to a much bigger and maybe serial blast and much more damaging blast. But at the end of the day, one blast did happen. 10 people did die. Somebody needs to be held to account for that.
Well, let me say on that count, definitely this government has failed, because right from 2014, any of the incidents which have happened, nobody has been held culpable or nobody has been held responsible. And that is a geriatric society. That may be also correct. But let me say that yes, a major disaster was certainly averted. And one of the best things which have been done by the security agencies is to crack this sinister module, which would have led to real mayhem. Because mind you, Zaka, it was also, reconnaissing the RSS office in Lucknow. They were finding out the busiest markets and other places. So definitely work is done. But in the end, let me say one thing. I totally agree with what Ajay Kumar has said, that there should be parliamentary oversight, that the intelligence agencies must be brought under some kind of regulatory or a law, which we have been trying to express for a very, very long time, because this kind of unaccountability is not there in any part of the world. So let us take a lesson from here. And let me tell you another thing, the last point which I want to make. Okay. Radicalization is a serious matter. De-radicalization has to start not only at the intelligence level, police level, but at all levels of the society, in the universities, and also these administrators, the deans, and the principals too, who don't report these incidents either out of fear or out of the lucre, the money which you are gaining by the admissions.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, Mr. Agarwal, Mr. Azad, Dr. Kumar. Thank you for joining us. I hope we are able to, meet and rise ourselves up to this challenge, because this is a completely, unknown beast altogether. That if educated people, doctors, engineers, etc., are being brainwashed, indoctrinated, and are willing to go to this kind of length for a twisted ideology, that is something that we need to be ready to rise up and confront as a society, as government, as a political class, even as the media, frankly. The Cabinet Committee for Security met earlier this evening under the chairmanship of the Prime Minister, and a short while ago, Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav briefed the press on what decisions have been taken. For the first time, the government has called this blast a terror attack and has reasserted India's commitment to fighting terrorism in all its forms. Let's listen in to Mr. Vaishnav.
The Cabinet expressed its profound grief over the loss of lives in the terrorist incident. The Cabinet observed 2 minutes silence in honor of the innocent lives lost. The Cabinet reiterates India's unwavering commitment to a policy of zero tolerance towards terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. The Cabinet directs that the investigation into the incident be pursued with the utmost urgency and professionalism, so that the perpetrators, their collaborators, and their sponsors are identified and brought to justice without delay. The situation continues to be closely monitored at the highest levels of the government. The Cabinet reaffirms the government's steadfast resolve to safeguard the lives and well-being of all Indians, consistent with its enduring commitment to national security and the safety of every citizen.
So the first time the government has officially now called this a terror attack. What the consequences, what the implications of this are, we will wait and see as the days progress. But I want to talk about something that's coming up in the next couple of days, and that is, of course, the Bihar election, where in 2 days' time, in fact, less than 2 days, less than 48 hours, counting will begin here on CNN News 18. We'll start nice and early at 6 a.m. Counting for Bihar, which is one of the most exciting North Indian states. Most exit polls are indicating a clean sweep. a clean victory for the NDA. The Mahagathbandhan is falling behind as per the projections of almost all the pollsters, in fact, all the pollsters. And Prashant Kishore's party didn't seem to have any impact. Certainly, it didn't have any impact as far as number of seats is concerned. The latest pollster, one of India's most credible, Axis My India, has predicted 130 seats for the NDA. So it's a range of 121 to 141. So if you take the median, it's around 130. Also for the Mahagathbandhan, the median figure is 110. It's between 98 and 118. So the median figure is 110. So 130, 110, that's what Axis My India's prediction is in terms of seats. Keeping, in fact, its Mahila voter base intact, the NDA is projected to secure 45% vote share among women, 40% preferring the Mahagathbandhan. So there's a 5% gap as far as women are concerned, 5% more favoring the NDA. And that was expected because of the 10,000 rupees that Nitish has promised and given, some of the other women-friendly schemes that his government has undertaken. The NDA is also forecast to win, like I said, between 121 to 141 seats, but at a vote share of 43%. Whereas the Mahagathbandhan is expected to get a 41% vote share. So there's a difference of 2%. In a state like Bihar, where it's hyper-competitive, elections have always been hyper-competitive, a 2% vote share is phenomenal. It makes a world of a difference. If you look at the 2020 election, for example, there was less than 0.5% that separated both the fronts, and that itself led to 125 for NDA and 115 for the Gathbandhan. This time, it's a 2% vote share difference, and that would mean that there could be a much wider gap. Axis My India's numbers are 130 to the NDA and 110 to the Mahagathbandhan. Let me go across to Mr. Pradeep Gupta, who is Chairman and Managing Director of Axis My India. Mr. Gupta, thank you very much for joining us. I want to first focus on the headline, which is 43% vote share for NDA, 41% for Gathbandhan, but seat share, it's 130 to NDA and 110 to Mahagathbandhan. Can you explain to our viewers how you arrived at that vote share to seat share? How does it crack as 130 to 110 when the vote share difference is 2%?
See, Zaka, thank you for having me here. At Axis My India, we go to each and every assembly constituency. So our methodology is little different than other pollster, I believe. And we do not have the dilemma of converting vote share into seat share. In fact, the way the poll happened, the real election seat, and in the process, we saw about 40 to 50 seats coming in a very close margin, 1%, 2% gap.
Okay.
And this, if you halve this 40 seats, which become about 20 seats, and this is precisely the range in the IT side. If all these seats turns in this side or that side, this will going to play this way or that way, So this is what, if you see the 130, as you mentioned, the odd number, which is the mid point of our range. So about 10 seats this side and 10 seats that side makes the range of 121 to 141 seats precisely for the NDA. So as the case with the...
No, but Mr. Gupta, your numbers and your survey is clear that NDA will form the government. There is no chance where the Gathbandhan is in a position to form a government.
5% chance on account of this massive voter turnout.
Okay.
From 57 to 67, if we see the last assembly election and the Lok Sabha election, which recently concluded 1 year back, it's 10 points incremental in voter turnout. I'm sure 6% points coming out of this vote purification process, SIR. But this incremental 4% point, that is where is something which is to be seen very closely. And these 4% large numbers because of the Chhat Puja. This time, this is in 15 years, this is the first time the election is happening post-Diwali. Earlier, it has been always concluded between Dussehra and Diwali. But this is the first time in 15 years which is happening post-Diwali, meaning Chhat Puja. And the large number of people have come to their native to celebrate Chhat Puja. And this time, these major political parties at the local level, the assembly constituency level, has made sure that they've been there. They've been taken good care of that. The hospitality to paying the fare also to and fro. So this incremental, and if you see the other demography, apart from women you spoke about, the other demography is the age group.
Yeah.
So in Bihar, in the age group of 18 to 39 years, that contributes 50% of electors.
Okay.
50% of electors among that group. And if you further decode this and see this, about 18 to 29 years age group, Mahagathbandhan is having massive lead in comparison to NDA, whereas 24% of the total vote, the 18 to 29. But
Okay.
if you see the midpoint, which is the 30 to 39, which contributes 26% contribution, there NDA has 1 point lead. NDA has 1 point lead, and then after 40 plus group, NDA has the decisive lead. So this is something I would say 5% chance of my range for NDA getting into the lower range, which is 121, near about that.
Okay.
But 95% chances are there it will be on the mid
higher
or
side.
the
But tell me, Mr. Gupta, the other thing which I found quite interesting was, see, ultimately it's an assembly election. It's the election to choose your chief minister. Mr. Modi is not on this ticket. He's not on this election. Mr. Rahul Gandhi is not on this election. It is a Nitish Kumar versus Tejashwi Yadav election at the end of the day. Here I found interesting in your survey that the preferred chief minister will face 34% Tejashwi Yadav and 22% Nitish Kumar. There's a 12% gap. Why then is that not converting into seats?
Yes. So it's not about 12% gap. What you are saying, you should see in totality. When you are comparing the seats, you are comparing the seats of NDA versus Mahagathbandhan, whereas as far as chief minister goes, you are comparing RJD or Tejaswi Prasad Yadav, RJD contesting 143 odd seats and securing 67 to 76 seats in our poll, which is way above than the NDA, these two group of JDU and BJP, both fought 101 seats to each. So
you're saying the RJD will be single largest party? Above both JDU
they have
and...
contested 143 seats,
of
so
course.
they have to.
Yes.
They have to be. It's like this. If they win, if these numbers hold good, they have to be.
So RJD could be single largest party, but alliance-wise, BJP and JDU will still form the government. That is your broad conclusion.
That's the broad conclusion. 95% chance that BJP or NDA is going to form the government.
So then tell me, Mr. Gupta, everybody, all our reporters we spoke to, everybody is saying this is Nitish Kumar's election. People want to give him a fitting farewell. He's personalized this election, whether it's the women who are getting 10,000, whatever it is. ये उनकी आखिरी लड़ाई है. We have to give him a good farewell gift. But in your poll, he seems to be 12% less than Tejashwi Yadav.
See, that's what people, one section of NDA voters wants BJP chief minister. That's what you can witness in this. About 22 points scored by Nitish Kumar out of 43 voter percentage. Now you compare the voter percentage for NDA. 21 wants other than Nitish Kumar as chief minister. 5 goes to Chirag Paswan and rest about 16 points goes to BJP candidate, any candidate from BJP, because 20 years or 2 decades is a too big a time, and this, the modern age, the technology age, the demographic shape, the youth India, etc. And people have witnessed BJP government, BJP chief minister in almost, or not almost, all the Hindi Patti states.
Correct.
Also, non-Hindi speaking likes of Assam, Orissa, Manipur, Arunachal Pradesh, Tripura. So, I mean, the aspiration has to be there, and particularly in the era of, we call it Modi era, where Modi and central government schemes also playing a very vital role when it comes to women in particular, because they have been the beneficiary for most of the central government schemes.
So basically the two conflicting factors in Bihar, according to your poll also, is one, Mahila, and we've talked about how Mahila, there's a 10% gap, 72% almost, Election Commission figures yesterday, almost 72% women and almost 62% men. So there's a 10% gap statewide between men and women. which could be big advantage to NDA. Your poll is also showing that women prefer NDA 45%, India Alliance only 40%. The conflicting factor is the young people, first-time voter, second-time voter, but certainly between 18 and 29, seem to be preferring India Alliance in a substantial way compared to NDA. Which of these two factors ultimately you think will prevail?
Which will have the major representation. It is as simple as that. And when you say 70% to 10 points gap, I want to tell you and to your viewers that how it should be seen or how it should be looked at.
Okay.
The actual vote cast about 4 crore 98 lakhs. So let's say for the sake of calculation about 5 crore. So 2 crore 51 crore votes of female and 2 crore 47 odd votes of the male. So net gap in that sense, whatever voted already there in that machine locked. Male 49.5% and female 50.5%. So though you see the out of 100 female, the large number of female voted, but that is within that group. But actually net, if you see, the difference is only 1%.
1%. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully you'll join us on Friday as well when the numbers come in. We'll see. We'll see if the numbers match your exit poll. That's Pradeep Gupta of Access My India with his numbers. Like I said, directionally, broadly, everyone seems to be predicting an NDA return to power. Talking about returning to power, let's shift focus from Bihar to America. That's quite a journey to traverse. Could America end up witnessing a Trump versus Newsom face-off in 2028? As speculation is growing, particularly after the off-year elections, the Democrats seem to be back, and the one person around whom all these national political ambitions seem to be revolving, at least for 2028, is the California governor, Gavin Newsom. Fresh of a resounding victory to gerrymander congressional maps to help the Democrats, Governor Gavin Newsom of California chose to celebrate it in an unlikely place, Texas. Texas is the same place where the American redistricting map wars began. Against the backdrop of an enormous American flag befitting a national campaign event, Newsom framed the redistricting battle in historic terms. The rally by the California governor, who grinned as shouts of 2028 echoed out from the crowd, was yet another signal of his hope to run for president. In fact, that's a possibility he's been openly acknowledging in the last few days. California voted overwhelmingly in favor of Proposition 50, which would reduce the number of Republican seats in the state. And that could have a huge bearing in next year's midterm election.
Poor. And he fundamentally understands that. Why else would he call Greg Abbott saying he's entitled to 5 seats? Why else is he trying to rig the midterm elections before one single vote is even cast? He understands his position at this moment in the United States of America.
But for Gavin Newsom, this was also another chapter in an intensifying rivalry between the governors of America's two biggest states. Newsom and Greg Abbott, the Republican governor of Texas, have for years engaged in almost schoolyard bullying and public stunts. Abbott, in fact, sent plane loads of migrants to Los Angeles in 2023. The two states have been on a political collision course ever since word leaked back in June that President Donald Trump had urged Texas to help Republicans in the midterm elections by taking the very rare step of redrawing its congressional maps in the middle of the decade. As the Republican plans firmed up, Newsom shot back, saying it would take two to tango. He put up Proposition 50 on the ballot this fall to redistrict California's seats, thereby reducing the potential Republican majority in the House. This past week, Newsom's state's voters followed through. They approved this ballot measure to redraw California's congressional district lines and to wipe out as many as 5 Republican seats in the state. Proposition 50 passed with a 2/3 majority. Newsom has been working relentlessly to burnish his image as a fearless combatant against Trump at a time when the Democratic base is clamoring for a fight. Since Donald Trump's return to the White House 9 months ago, his relationship with California's governor, Newsom, has evolved from wary pragmatism to open political warfare.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
And in yet another exclusive, News 18 has also spoken to a Masjid Committee Chairman Farooq Ahmed on the link with the Maulvi Irfan. He has said that 3 posters of Jaish Mohammed were recovered from the room of this Maulvi by the police after they opened the lock of the room in front of the magistrate.
पुलिस ने फोन किया, पता नहीं कि इस हमसाय ने मेरा फोन नंबर दिया, वरना मुझे उनको नावगाम के साथ वास्ता नहीं है, मुझे छानपोरा के साथ, अबे छानपोरा थाना आता है। फिर मैं इधर एक और आदमी में डर गया, पुलिस की ढूंढता मुझे 10:15 बजे। मैंने हमसाय को फोन, मेरे साथ था, वो आया इधर, यहाँ बोला उसने फारूक साहब कौन? मैं हूँ इमाम साहब का। इमाम साहब के पता नहीं क्या शाहमत है, इमाम साहब को ढूंढता है, ये घर गया आज। मैंने बोला इमाम साहब यहाँ रहते हैं इधर, हाँ दे दो चाबी। मैं चाबी हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबी उसी के पास है। फिर वो सब इंस्पेक्टर ने फोन किया थाने पर या किसको किया, फिर वो गया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, वहां से निकल गई इस गेट की चाबी।
हाँ, उसके बाद
इस चाबी निकली, फिर उन्होंने इधर एक चाबी दरवाजा खोला, फिर गया अंदर कमरे के साथ। मैंने बोला ये चाबी भी उसी के पास है। उन्होंने मैसेज दिया उनको कि ये चाबी भी मौलवी साहब के पास है। फिर उन्होंने बोला रखो, जब जरूरत पड़ेगी फिर हम आएंगे। वो 18 दिन आया नहीं है। 18 दिन के बाद पुलिस आए, दिन को 4 बजे आया वो। मजिस्ट्रेट साथ था, वो सरदार है सब इंस्पेक्टर। उसे बोला फारूक साहब चाबी ले जाओ, तो चलो खोलो दरवाज़ा। हमने दरवाज़ा खोला, ये भी और वो भी। वहाँ से तलाशी की, ठीक ठाक से बजट के, तो वहाँ से निकला जैश मोहम्मद के 3 पोस्टर है। हमें नहीं पता, सरदार ने बोला यही वो पोस्टर है जो नवगामा में चस्पान हुआ। उन्हें बस वही तीर पर लिखा है, उस पर ये माहौल वालों की धमकी है, अब सुधर जाओ, गलत काम करते हैं। और
तो उससे पहले किसी ने ताला खोला था कमरे का?
नहीं, 18 दिन उन्हीं के पास है। हम अंदर गए, क्या करना अंदर?
नहीं, उससे पहले पुलिस ने तो नहीं खोला था?
नहीं, जिस दिन पहले गिरफ्तार उस दिन भी नहीं खोला, क्योंकि चाबियां हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबियां उसी के पास है।
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
And in yet another exclusive, News 18 has also spoken to a Masjid Committee Chairman Farooq Ahmed on the link with the Maulvi Irfan. He has said that 3 posters of Jaish Mohammed were recovered from the room of this Maulvi by the police after they opened the lock of the room in front of.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Shocking, if not completely surprising, not the first time that educated Muslim men and women have been found to be part of terror modules. Not the first time that this has happened in India either. But are you surprised by just the sheer amount of radicalization that would have gone in for doctors to become agents of death? Mr. Dubey?
Actually, sorry, ma'am.
Yes.
Actually, I'm very sure basically the entire process of radicalization has got no connection with the person, whether he's highly educated or he is a foot soldier. Actually, there has been initial era when these things mattered. But again, there is a section in our society which generally propagates the factor that that's a have not fight. The person who is deprived, is less educated, having no opportunity for employment, these people are very easily motivated to join the radicalization and the terrorism. But if you see the history, even if you see the last 5 to 6 years development, highly educated people, including doctors, have been part of this radical terror system. And the latest outfit which have been burst with the great support of J&K police, is an eye-opener for the entire society. I remember the days when these Kashmiri boys used to go for study in medical colleges in Pakistan, and Hurriyat Conference used to allocate the seats. You know who is the Hurriyat Conference. You know the entire story of the front offices of Hurriyat Conference in the Srinagar city. They used to allocate these seats and the money to study in the Pakistan. You think of a situation where these students are spending their 4 to 5 years in Pakistan in some medical college, suppose, what kind of thought process and what kind of motivation they are undergoing. Same situation is in Bangladesh. Our students are joining medical colleges in Bangladesh. You know situations is last 1.5 years, 2 years. The situation is turned in Bangladesh. And who is taking call in Bangladesh? 1 million Rohingyas are being radicalized in Bangladesh. The students who are joining in these countries, including few places in Nepal, ISI is taking advantage of these things. And these people are falling as easy prey. See your situation.
So
the
is
doctor
this...
is of 36 years age.
No, I want to understand. Two questions that come out of your answer. One, I want to understand from you, is this then the generation that was already brainwashed when Hurriyat was still active, when stone pelting was still active? Now...
Viewers, it's shocking, it's worrying, it's the _1 security threat, and the time has come to cauterize radicalization. Today, another two doctors have been linked to the Delhi 10/11 terror conspiracy. 2 women doctors who were educated in Dhaka but funneling funds from Turkey and Qatar to the Falah white-collar module. The module itself was indoctrinated by a Maulvi based in Kashmir. From a mosque in Kashmir, Irfan Ahmad's role seals the debate. Viewers, let me give you a bit of an insight into who this Maulvi is. He's the indoctrinator and mastermind of the Faridabad module, also called the Falah module. He was arrested from Shopian in South Kashmir. Radicalized medical students. He's a paramedic at the GMC Srinagar, so he was not somebody who was without any prospects in life. He was a paramedic, and then later he became the imam of the Nogam Mosque in Srinagar. He's been inspired by the Jaish-e-Mohammed, and he used propaganda videos and sermons of the Afghani ISIS viewers. He used Telegram and Threema handles to circulate material. The brain behind terror attacks, seeding radicalization. The fact is, viewers, the pattern is unmistakable. Whether in Faridabad or Srinagar, doctors of jihad, so-called doctors of jihad as they are being labeled, trace their ideological inspiration to a hardline ecosystem nourished by Salafi Wahhabi seminaries and online propaganda networks. Yet in India, where they are constantly reminded of the Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb, that's what we are constantly told, and Indian Islam's supposed strength lies, we are told, in syncretic Sufi traditions. Viewers, extremist seminaries and unregulated religious institutions still flourish. And let me give you an example. Let me, viewers, read out the list of these Wahhabi Salafi cradles. Al-Jamiatul Salafi in Varanasi, the Markaz Ad-Dawa As-Salafia in Chennai, Jamia